Ryan is 41 years old. He lives in Austin, Texas. He is a senior director of enterprise sales at a software company, and last year he cleared $340,000 in base plus commission. He drives a leased Tesla. His 2 kids go to a private school in Westlake. He and his wife eat out 4 or 5 nights a week. Because, honestly, neither of them has the energy to cook after the hours they both put in. They own a home in a neighborhood where everyone around them earns roughly the same thing or more. Their mortgage is $4,600 a month. 3 months ago, Ryan's company had a team dinner to celebrate closing a big deal. His team, 8 people. People he manages. People who look up to him. The restaurant was the kind of place where the bill lands somewhere around $800 for a table that size. Ryan offered to put it on his card. And for one terrible second, he hesitated. Not because he didn't have the card. He had the card. The hesitation was because he already knew what was sitting on that card. He knew his checking account. He knew the mental math. And for that 1 second, putting $800 on top of everything else that month felt genuinely uncertain. He signed the receipt. He laughed with his team. And he drove home in his Tesla, feeling something he hadn't expected to feel at $340,000 a year, ashamed. If you've ever had that moment, in a restaurant, at checkout, on a phone call with a financial advisor where you quietly realize the number they're asking for doesn't exist, then what I'm about to walk you through isn't theory. It's a diagnosis. This is the high-income poverty trap, and Ryan is already inside it. Here's what this video is not going to do. Lecture you about skipping lattes or tracking your grocery spending. You already know that. You've known that for 20 years. What I want to give you today are 5 structural reasons, not habits, not tips. 5 structural reasons that this trap exists. Why it specifically targets people like Ryan, and what the actual exit looks like, not the Pinterest version. The version that requires you to be honest about things most financial content refuses to name. If you make good money, and you still feel financially precarious, stay with me. Because the system is working exactly as designed, and you need to understand how it works before you can break it. Here is the first structural reason the trap works. When income grows past a certain threshold, your brain quietly stops treating money as a threat. And when it stops treating money as a threat, it stops monitoring it. Behavioral economists call this phenomenon financial salience, the degree to which financial decisions feel urgent, real, and worth conscious attention. When money is scarce, salience is high. Every dollar has weight. You feel it leave. You feel it running out. That vigilance is painful, but it protects you. When income becomes comfortable, and $340,000 is objectively comfortable, salience drops. A $200 charge feels different when you're making $40,000 versus $340,000. Not morally different. Neurologically different, your brain genuinely processes it as a smaller percentage of your resources, which means it gets less monitoring, less scrutiny. Les attention. Here's where it gets expensive. Ryan has not sat down and reviewed his recurring monthly expenses in 26 months. Not because he's irresponsible, because nothing has forced him to. Every charge clears. No card ever gets declined. The subscription services renew invisibly. The gym membership he hasn't used since before the pandemic keeps billing. The premium software tool his company stopped needing, still there, still charging. This isn't unique to Ryan. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that people underestimate their recurring expenditures especially small. Automated ones. The gap between what people think they're spending on subscriptions and what they're actually spending can reach hundreds of dollars per month in a high-income household, not because they're dishonest with themselves, because their attention went elsewhere. The fog is the first mechanism, not reckless spending, the systematic erosion of financial attention that happens precisely because you've earned the right to stop worrying. And then you pay for that relief with thousands of dollars per year that disappear into services you forgot you were buying. Ryan's neighbors drive Teslas and Audis. His kid's school has a parent social committee that organizes events at venues that aren't cheap. His colleagues take ski trips in January and lake house weekends in the summer. Nobody asked him to do any of this. Nobody is going to say anything if he doesn't. Except they kind of will. Just not out loud. This is the second structural mechanism. When you move into a high-income bracket, you don't just change your paycheck. You change your reference group, and reference groups have what I'd call a peer tax, the unspoken, unwritten, never officially stated price of membership. The peer tax is not frivolity. It is sociologically predictable. Research consistently shows that human beings are tribal by nature, and every tribe has rituals that signal membership in a $340,000 a year peer group in Austin, Texas. Those rituals look like the right car, the right neighborhood, the right school, the right vacation destination, the right restaurant for client dinners. Now here's the brutal part. Ryan doesn't feel like he's performing. He feels like he's living because he's been inside this reference group long enough that these things feel normal. The $4,600 mortgage is normal. The private school tuition is normal. The $250 dinner with colleagues on a Tuesday is normal. Normal things don't feel like spending. They feel like just being. This is why the peer tax is so dangerous. It doesn't show up on a budget as status maintenance. It shows up as housing, education, transportation, and dining, categories that look like necessities, categories that have the full backing of your social environment. Questioning them doesn't feel like financial wisdom. It feels like opting out of your own life. The peer tax isn't a character flaw. But not naming it means you keep paying it without deciding whether it's actually worth the cost. I want to walk you through Ryan's last 6 years in slow motion. Because every single decision he made was defensible, every one of them made complete sense in context. And together, they built a system that now requires his full income to sustain itself. Year 1. Ryan and his wife buy a house in Westlake because they've earned it. Because the schools are excellent, and because it's a sound investment in a growing market, defensible. Year 2, because they're now in that school district. They enroll their daughter in the top-rated elementary school. It's free. It's public. But then they visit the private school. And the comparison is striking. They enroll her. $28,000 a year. Defensible. Year 3. The social environment of that school creates new expectations. Their daughter wants to play competitive soccer. Travel team. Gear. Tournaments. Hotels. Meanwhile, their son is old enough for piano lessons and a coding camp. The school recommends defensible. Year 4. Ryan gets promoted to senior director. His role now involves client entertainment. He needs a wardrobe that matches the rooms he walks into. His wife begins working with the decorator on the living room. They've been in the house 3 years. It's time. They also finally join the club their neighbors have been mentioning for 2 years. Defensible. Year 5. The Tesla lease is up. He could downgrade. But the model year is nicer. The tax credit helps. And honestly, the car is part of how clients perceive him before he opens his mouth. He releases. Defensible. Year 6. Ryan makes $340,000 and has $23,000 in savings. Not one of those decisions was wrong. They were each reasonable, each logical, each socially and professionally understandable. But here's what they did together. They reclassified Ryan's variable expenses, the things that are theoretically cuttable, as fixed expenses, as things that cannot be removed without social, professional, or family consequences that feel unbearable. Financial planners call this phenomenon fixed cost creep. Your lifestyle has become your cage. The Cascade effect is the trap's most elegant feature. It was built by you, decision by decision, with your full consent. I want to introduce you to a metric that most financial content completely ignores because it's more revealing than net worth, more honest than income, and more uncomfortable than most people can handle. It's called your financial runway. It answers a single question. If your income stopped today, completely stopped, how many months could you sustain your current life before it fell apart? For Ryan, let's run the numbers. He has $23,000 in accessible savings, his fixed monthly commitments, mortgage, car lease, insurance, school tuition, club membership, utilities, subscriptions, minimum debt payments. Total approximately $14,000 per month. That's not including food, gas, kids' activities, or anything discretionary. Ryan's runway is less than 7 weeks. Now, let me tell you about his college roommate, Marcus. Marcus is 42, lives in Columbus, Ohio, teaches high school history, and makes about $68,000 a year. Marcus drives a 2016 Honda Accord. His kids go to public school. He and his wife brown bag lunch. They take one family vacation a year. Road trips. Mostly, Marcus has $91,000 in savings and retirement accounts. Marcus's financial runway, if his income stopped, is approximately 18 months. Ask yourself honestly, which of these two men is wealthier, Ryan, who earns 5 times more, or Marcus, who could survive for 18 months without a paycheck? This is not a feel-good story about Marcus being morally superior. It's a structural observation about what wealth actually means. Wealth is not income. Wealth is resilience, the distance between your life and its disruption. According to data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the United States personal savings rate in late 2025 sat at approximately 3.6%. That is an extraordinarily thin margin for a country where even professional roles see meaningful rates of involuntary job loss every year. The question isn't whether disruption will come. The question is whether you've built any distance between your income and your survival. Ryan hasn't. Most people in his position haven't. Because the trap is specifically designed to consume every dollar of income growth before a single dollar reaches savings. Here is the part that no budgeting spreadsheet can fix. And it's the reason most high earners who recognize the trap still don't escape it. Ryan knows, somewhere, that he should cut the lease and buy a used car. He knows the club membership is hard to justify. He knows the private school is a choice, not a requirement. He could do the math on all of it. But here's what happens when he tries to actually pull the trigger on any of those cuts. His brain doesn't frame it as a financial decision. It frames it as an identity decision. The Tesla isn't a car. It's what he drives to meet a $4 million client. The private school isn't tuition. It's what a good father does for his kids. The club isn't a membership. It's where he belongs. Behavioral economists call this phenomenon loss aversion applied to identity, and it is significantly more powerful than regular loss aversion. When you've built a self-concept around a set of material choices, removing those choices doesn't feel like saving money. It feels like dismantling who you are. This is the identity lock, and it explains why people with six-figure salaries and negative net worth trajectories know exactly what they should do and still don't do it. The exit isn't about willpower. It's about reframing. Ryan needs to ask a different question. Not what would I have to give up, but what would I be choosing? A used car isn't a downgrade. It's $800 a month redirected into his own future. Public school isn't settling. It's $28,000 a year that compounds into more than $1.3 million over 20 years at a 7% return. Money that creates actual choices for his family later. Instead of performing choices now, identity lock breaks when you realize that the identity you're protecting, the person who has all of these things, is the same person who hesitated for one terrible second before signing an $800 restaurant tab. That identity isn't protecting you. It's billing you. So what does Ryan actually do? Not in theory. Right now, Monday morning, before anything else changes, 3 moves. That's it. The first move is the audit, not a budget. En nous dit, Ryan pulls 12 months of bank and credit card statements and categorizes every dollar into 3 groups. Things that genuinely align with his real values. Things that maintain appearances, things he's paying for out of pure inertia. In a high-income household, the inertia category alone commonly accounts for $1,000 to $2,000 per month in spending that delivers zero life satisfaction. Subscriptions forgotten. Memberships unused. Upgrades that lost their novelty 2 years ago. That money isn't funding a lifestyle. It's funding nothing. The second move is the automatic wealth floor. Before Ryan touches a single dollar of lifestyle spending, a fixed percentage goes immediately and automatically into investment accounts. Not what's left over. The first dollar's out. Research on actual wealth builders, not high earners, actual accumulators, consistently shows they treat savings as a non-negotiable operating expense. Not en aspiration. The specific target. If you're earning above $200,000, a savings rate below 20% is not building wealth at the pace your income makes possible. It is, in the language of the millionaire next door, the behavioral signature of an under-accumulator of wealth. The third move is the identity audit. Ryan sits with every major fixed expense and asks one honest question: am I paying for this because it genuinely matters to my life? Or because of what it says about me? This isn't minimalism. This isn't asceticism. It's permission to keep the things that actually deliver what they promise, and to stop paying for the things that deliver only a signal. Here is the math that should anchor all of it. If Ryan earns $340,000 and saves 25%, he accumulates $85,000 per year before investment returns. At a 7% average annual return, a figure consistent with broad market index fund historical averages, over 20 years, that becomes approximately $3.7 million. If he saves 5%, same income, same returns, same timeline, roughly $740,000. The difference is nearly $3 million, not from earning more, from keeping more of what he already earns. That is the cost of the high-income poverty trap over 2 decades. $3 million. Paid not in one transaction, but in thousands of invisible ones: subscriptions, signals, cascades, and a locked identity that cost Ryan everything except the appearance of having it all. The trap is real. Ryan is real. And the exit has been available the entire time. If this reframes something for you, share it with one person who's living this and doesn't have a name for it yet, not to judge them, because they deserve to see it clearly.